Hey everyone, and welcome to our explainer. Today we're diving into a really fundamental change in India's medical system, a huge reform that touches every single doctor's license and honestly, every patient's trust. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so let me start by asking you a question. When you go to a doctor, you're putting an immense amount of trust in them, right? But have you ever stopped to think about who actually gives them the green light to practice? Who holds the key to that medical license?
Well, for a really long time, we're talking more than 6 decades, the answer to that question was pretty simple. The Medical Council of India, or the MCI. They were it, the ultimate authority, the one and only watchdog for the entire medical profession in the country. But then, in 2019, everything changed. That 60-year-old institution was completely dissolved, and a brand new system was built from the ground up to replace it. So today, we're going to break down that dramatic shift. What happened, why it happened, and how the new system works. To really get what's new, we first have to understand what came before. So let's take a closer look at this old guard, the Medical Council of India. The MCI was created way back in 1956 by an act of parliament. And its job, its mandate, was massive. It was supposed to be the supreme regulator for pretty much everything, from the standards at medical colleges to the professional conduct of every doctor in the nation. Now, when you look at who is actually on this council, it gets kind of complicated. I mean, this thing was a huge body. It was built to represent a whole lot of different groups. You had members nominated by the government, members elected by university professors, and a whole bunch who were elected directly by other doctors. It was this complex mix of appointments and elections from all over the country. Okay, so you have this big, complicated council. But what did it actually do? What kind of powers did it have? Well, their job description was huge. They were in charge of the official Indian medical register, the master list of every licensed doctor. They were the gatekeepers for medical education, setting the standards and giving the thumbs up for any new medical colleges. They also decided which medical degrees from other countries were valid in India. And maybe most importantly, they held the power to discipline doctors. And this disciplinary role was a really big deal. It was probably its most visible and critical power in the public's eyes. If a doctor was accused of doing something wrong, the MCI was essentially the final court of appeal for their career. And this here breaks down exactly how that process worked. It would all start with a complaint at the state level. Then there'd be an inquiry, a decision, and the consequences could be serious. They could go all the way up to penal erasure, which basically meant your name was wiped off the medical register. Your career was over. But look at that last step. The final appeal went right up to the top, to the Medical Council of India. So after more than 60 years, that entire system was taken apart. And that brings us to a totally new era and the creation of a brand new watchdog, the National Medical Commission. In 2019, Parliament passed the National Medical Commission Act. And this wasn't just some small tweak or an amendment. Nope, this was a complete overhaul. The old act from 1956 wiped clean. The MCI itself dissolved, and in its place, the NMC was born. So you might be asking, why? Why tear down a 60-year-old institution? Well, the answer is right there in the new law's own words. The goals were incredibly ambitious. Improve access to quality education, make sure there are enough high-quality doctors everywhere, and push for universal healthcare. The thinking was that the old system just wasn't getting the job done, so a complete redesign was needed. Okay, so let's break down what this new system actually looks like. How is it designed differently to try and meet those big goals? The very first thing that just jumps out at you is this number, 25. That's it. The new National Medical Commission is a much, much leaner organization with just 25 members in total. That is a massive reduction from the sprawling council of the old MCI. And this really shows you the fundamental shift in thinking, right? You go from this huge, complex body built on elections and broad representation to a super compact 25-member commission. The whole philosophy of how to govern the profession changed, shifting from representation towards a smaller, more focused structure. So how can such a small group handle everything the old MCI did? Well, the short answer is they don't, at least not directly. The whole system is built around these 4 autonomous boards that the main commission oversees. Each board is a team of experts with a very specific job. You've got one for undergrad education, one for postgrad, a really powerful one for assessing and rating colleges, and a 4th just for ethics and registration. This is the new model. Break down the work into specialized expert groups. And there's another absolutely massive change that came with this act. It introduces a single national exam that every single medical student has to pass to get their license. It doesn't matter what college you went to, everyone takes the same test. This one exam also doubles as the entrance test for postgrad courses, creating one standard of quality for the whole country. All right, so we've looked at the old guard, the MCI, and the new guard, the NMC. So what's the big picture here? What does all this change really truly mean? When you boil it all down, it's a shift from one giant council trying to do everything to a smaller commission that acts more like a supervisor for 4 expert teams. It's a fundamental move away from a model built on broad representation to a new one that prioritizes specialized expertise and, at least in theory, more efficiency. You know, the goal stated in the law is crystal clear: better education, better doctors, and ultimately better healthcare for all Indians. The big question that we're left with, and the one I'll leave with you, is this: will this new streamlined and specialized structure actually deliver on that incredible promise? I guess only time will tell.